Do you really want what you desire to happen? Or would you rather stay stuck in complaints, discouragement, and excuses? Because while you keep saying someday and get lost in fantasies, life laughs in your face and slips right through your fingers. The Stoics knew this well. What you don't control, let it go. Don't force it, let it die. But what does depend on you? That's a different story. That, you conquer it, with discipline, without fear. It's yours. Today I'm going to show you how to apply this mindset so you can stop waiting for miracles and start creating real results in your life. Because wishes by themselves are worthless. What transforms your life is the action you take today, the habit you repeat tomorrow, and the character you forge every single day. It's not about imagining a perfect life. It's about training your mind to move toward it, step by step. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus were clear on this. Don't force the impossible, but don't you dare stay idle either. If you apply their teachings, what now feels like a distant dream will stop being a someday and start becoming your reality. And believe me, once you make that shift, there's no going back. Before we begin, if you find value in our content, subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to wake up. And tell me in the comments, what desire are you turning into action starting today? Comment below. Stoic at heart. Today I turn my desires into actions. Are you ready to make everything change? Then I challenge you to stay with me until the end. Let's begin. 1. Patience is your best strategy. How many times have you thrown yourself into a project full of excitement, only to feel desperate soon after because things aren't moving as fast as you hoped? You start motivated, full of energy, and suddenly you find yourself checking every single day for results. Like someone who plants a seed and digs it up each morning to see if it's sprouted yet. And of course, the frustration hits. The strange thing is, you didn't fail in the idea or the effort. You failed in patience. We live surrounded by messages telling us that everything should be instant, diets that promise results in a week, businesses that guarantee millions in a month. Listen, that kind of mindset turns you into a slave of speed. And the Stoics, they hated that. They knew that what you want doesn't happen when you force it. It happens when you keep showing up without giving up, even in silence, even when it seems like nothing is happening. Picture a farmer sowing a field. He doesn't sit in front of the soil yelling for the plants to grow faster. He knows the process takes time. His job is to water, to care, and to wait. You have to learn to treat your projects like that farmer does, without anxiety, without obsession, but with steady daily effort. Patience is that space where you trust that what you planted will bear fruit, even if today you don't see it. And no, being patient doesn't mean sitting around doing nothing. It means moving forward without forcing everything to happen your way, on your schedule. Patience is the virtue that stops you from sabotaging your own path just because you're in a rush. What feels slow today might become your biggest advantage tomorrow, because it allowed you to grow at the right pace. Think about how you learn a language. At first, the words sound strange. The sentences get tangled in your mouth and it feels like you'll never get it. If you force it, expecting to speak like a native in a month, you'll get frustrated and quit. But if you accept that every new word is another brick in the wall one day, without even realizing it, you'll have built the whole structure. That mindset shift, from obsessing over the result to trusting the process, is what makes all the difference. It's the same with your deepest desires. Maybe you want a freer life, a stronger body, a calmer mind. None of those come from rushing. They come when your character is shaped in the routine, when you learn to resist the urge to have it all now. The Stoics trained that active waiting as a form of discipline. They didn't force life to give them what they wanted. They simply prepared every day to be ready when it arrived. And if it didn't, they simply accepted it. So here's a challenge. Notice the anxiety that shows up when you don't see immediate results. That discomfort is the best training ground. If you can stay with it, without quitting or taking shortcuts, you're building patience. Every time you choose to persist one more day, even when you see no signs of progress, you're shaping your character. Life will test you with that feeling of slowness. You'll feel like nothing's moving, like all your effort is pointless. But that's exactly the sign that you're on the right path. If everything came instantly, there'd be no merit, no transformation. Desire becomes reality, not because you chase it desperately, but because you work quietly, with patience, with steady effort, until time itself begins to work with you. So the next time you feel tempted to quit, because what you want isn't arriving, remember this: what's truly worthwhile never comes with shouting or pushing. It comes in silence while you keep moving forward. Patience is not resignation, it's trust. Trust that if you do your part without giving up, life will eventually give you what you're looking for. 2. Discipline beats anxiety. Anxiety is like a river that's overflowed, dragging you under, giving you no break, forcing you to fight against a current that feels impossible to stop. And yet there's one key that can contain it, give it direction, and even turn it into strength: discipline. The Stoics knew it and practiced it. To them, an undisciplined mind was an open field for every fear to take root. But a trained mind, it found calm, even in chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote it with a clarity that needs no embellishment. You must build your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal. That sentence holds a secret. The discipline of focusing on what's in front of you is the antidote to the anxiety that tries to drag you into the future. Let's think about someone who embodied discipline like few others. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history. His talent was undeniable. But what took him to the top wasn't just genetics. It was brutal training. He woke up before dawn, trained for hours every day, no excuses, not even on Christmas. His life was shaped by a rigid routine that made discipline as natural as breathing. But here's what's even more powerful. That same discipline is what saved him when anxiety almost pulled him under. After years of intense pressure, Phelps admitted to falling into depression and dark thoughts. What kept him afloat? Returning to what he knew best: routine, waking up, training, taking care of his body and mind, step by step. In his own words, "If I hadn't had the discipline to keep going, I would have gotten lost in my thoughts." That consistency was his lifeline. My friend, anxiety is always trying to push us into tomorrow. It fills your head with "what if" and "what if it doesn't work?" Discipline is the rope that anchors you to the present. You can't control what's coming, but you can control that today you train. Today, you stick to your routine. Today, you bring order to your mind. The Stoics lived by that idea. They didn't expect instant transformation. They trained the soul day by day. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." That includes peace of mind. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's built through discipline. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's getting up when you don't feel like it. It's writing even when the words don't come. It's doing the work in silence while others are chasing shortcuts. But that's exactly where its power lies. Every repeated action builds a wall that protects your mind from anxiety. Without discipline, you're a slave to your emotions. With discipline, you own them. Think of discipline like a metronome for a musician. Anxiety is chaos. It speeds everything up, throws off your rhythm. The metronome, on the other hand, sets a steady pace. It keeps you grounded even when the music gets messy. That's how discipline works. It gives your life rhythm when your inner world is falling apart. The great trap of anxiety is thinking you have to fix everything at once. Discipline answers with simplicity. Just do what needs to be done now. If it's time to train, train. If it's time to work, work. If it's time to rest, rest. And by focusing on that one action, anxiety starts to lose ground. Think about your own life. How many times has anxiety made you feel like you couldn't keep going, only for you to realize later that you could? That step by step, the storm passed. That's the Stoic lesson. Discipline doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it order. It reminds you that control isn't in the outcome. It's in the action you take right now. Seneca put it best in a phrase worth its weight in gold. Most of our suffering comes from imagination. not reality. And discipline is the way to quiet that imagination that feeds your fears. When you act with consistency, you stop giving space to the shadows. So listen carefully. Anxiety is noise, discipline is order. Anxiety is chaos, discipline is rhythm. Anxiety pulls you into tomorrow, discipline brings you back to today. My friend, write this down as a wise command. Don't let your mind drown in what doesn't exist yet. Build your life with discipline step by step, and you'll see how anxiety loses its grip. Because someone who owns their actions never needs to force anything. They find peace, even in the middle of the storm. 3. The trap of wanting to control the universe. We live trapped in the illusion that we're the CEOs of the universe. Yes, you heard that right. We believe everything should go exactly as we planned. We make lists, draw out calendars, try to predict every detail as if life were a machine that follows orders. And when something doesn't go as expected, we feel like the world is letting us down. But what really hurts us isn't the event itself. It's that endless craving to control everything. It's like we walk through life with an invisible rope, trying to pull the universe in the direction we want. And of course, the universe doesn't let itself be pulled. The Stoics knew that the root of much of our suffering lies right there, in the need for control. Seneca put it plainly, fortune has no jurisdiction over wisdom. He understood that life can strip everything away in an instant, but it can never take away the way you choose to face it. And that is the kind of freedom no one can steal from you. Not even Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the most powerful empire in the world, could control the ambition of senators or the rebellions of his enemies. But he could govern himself, and he did. Every night he wrote in his meditations, reminding himself that his duty was to act with justice, even if the world was unjust. That's the essence of inner control, to lead the only thing that truly belongs to you. Or think about Zeno of Citium. He lost his entire fortune in a shipwreck. He couldn't stop the storm or save his sunken ships, but he chose not to fall apart. That disaster became the starting point of a life dedicated to philosophy. The storm took his wealth, but it couldn't take his will. Now compare that to your own life. What throws you off the most usually isn't war or shipwreck. It's much smaller things. An unanswered email, a plan that gets canceled, a meeting that doesn't go the way you hoped. And be honest, sometimes you react like it's the end of the world. That's the trap. We give everyday setbacks the power to control us, to make us slaves. Every time you try to force what's out of your hands, you wear yourself out. It's like trying to push the water in a river with your hands. All your energy goes into it, and nothing changes. How much time have you wasted replaying what someone said about you? What could have gone differently? What didn't go as planned? Hours, days, even years, stuck in a fight you'll never win. My friend, I'm not asking you to give up and accept any fate without resistance. What I'm asking is this: fight fiercely, but only on the battlefield that belongs to you. Your actions, your character, your mind. That's where your real strength lies. Everything else, no matter how tightly you hold on, slips through your fingers like sand. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. You have power over your mind, not external events. Understand this, and you will find strength. That phrase should be a daily reminder. And no, this isn't about passivity, it's the opposite. When you accept what's beyond your control, you free up your energy to act more powerfully on what is within your reach. Picture an archer. Their job is to draw the bow, aim carefully, and release the arrow with precision. The wind, the distance, the movement of the target, that's out of their hands. If they waste energy cursing the wind, they'll miss. But if they focus on what they can control, they increase their chances of hitting the mark. That's how your life works too. True power lies in choosing your battles wisely. Every time you fight where you have no control, you lose. Every time you focus your effort where it is up to you, you grow stronger. That's Stoic discipline, not forcing the universe to obey your will, but governing yourself so you're ready for whatever comes. So let me give you a challenge. For the next 7 days, every time something goes wrong, stop and ask yourself, is this in my hands or not? If the answer is no, let it go. Don't insist. Don't carry it with you. If the answer is yes, act on it right then and there. Practice this again and again, with big things and small ones, with traffic, misunderstandings, or last-minute changes. And if, by the end of the week, you find yourself living with more calm and energy, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone. Because helping someone else break free from the trap of control may be the wisest thing you ever do. 4. Master the art of living in the moment. The story goes that Leonidas, king of Sparta, spent his final night at Thermopylae knowing that at dawn he would face certain death alongside his men. He could have drowned in fear, paralyzed by the certainty that the enemy was far too great. But he didn't. That night he ate calmly, spoke with his warriors, and rested. And at sunrise he went out to fight with the serenity of someone who had already defeated the hardest enemy of all, the anxiety of what hadn't happened yet. That lesson travels across centuries to reach us today, because it's not just a historical anecdote, it's a reminder of what happens in our own lives. The present is always the battlefield where the most important fight is taking place. The Stoics understood that much of our suffering comes from wanting to be somewhere else, in another time. When you live in the past, you carry a weight you can no longer put down. When you live in the future, you're chasing a shadow that doesn't exist yet. Marcus Aurelius summed it up with the clarity of an emperor who couldn't afford to get lost in illusions. Devote each moment only to what's in front of you. That phrase is a weapon against anxiety. It's not just theory, it's a way of living, giving everything to what's right in front of you. Look at your day-to-day. How many times have you been in a conversation, but your mind was somewhere else? How often do you eat without tasting because your thoughts are tangled in worries? That constant escape drains your energy and leaves you feeling like you never really get anywhere. It's like walking with a backpack full of invisible stones. The past and the future don't belong to you, yet you carry them. And the only real place, the present, slips right through your fingers because your mind is somewhere else. Epictetus taught it with firmness. Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you must, with the same reason you use today to face the present. The past is gone. The future hasn't come. The present moment, however, is always yours, if you choose to live in it. And here's the irony. The more you run from the now chasing what doesn't exist yet, the further you drift from what you say you want. Living in the present doesn't stop progress. It's the fastest way to get to where you want to go. Mindfulness doesn't need elaborate rituals. It's trained in the simplest things. When you walk, feel your steps instead of getting lost in thoughts. When you listen, really listen, instead of preparing your reply. When you take a deep breath for just a few seconds, what felt like an avalanche starts to settle. It's in those small gestures that your life finds order. And the best part? When you focus on this very moment, those dreams that seem distant stop being fantasies and start becoming something real. Seneca recommended observing ourselves in the middle of agitation, to ask whether it's really the world that's disturbing us, or if we're the ones amplifying the noise. Practicing that today means learning how to pause in the middle of chaos and choosing to be here. Because life will keep rushing, but your mind can be trained to move at a different pace. And that slower rhythm? That's the one that turns vague desires into concrete steps toward what you long for. Think of a musician in an orchestra. If they rush or fall behind, the melody falls apart. Only when they follow the exact rhythm of the moment does the music flow and become something beautiful. Life works the same way. If you race ahead or get stuck in what's already behind, you lose the harmony. It's only by living in the present that the melody of your life starts to sound clear. My friend, I'm not asking you to give up your goals or stop dreaming about what you want. I'm asking you to understand that you won't reach any of it by forcing life or chasing what isn't here yet. No one builds a great destiny in the air of imagination. It's built here, in the decision you make now, in the action you choose to take today. Every present decision, repeated again and again, ends up shaping the life you dream of. Anxiety will always try to pull you out of the moment. It'll whisper that it's not enough, that there's still too far to go, that tomorrow will be better. But the discipline of returning to the present, that's what breaks the cycle. And each time you choose to be here, your strength grows. Your desire stops being a burden that crushes you and becomes a motor that drives you forward. Because when the present is yours, the future stops being an enemy and becomes the natural result of your actions. 5. Celebrate the small as if it were great. It's said that Socrates, while walking through the markets of Athens, would often stop and look at the luxurious objects for sale. He'd observe them calmly, then say, "How many things I don't need." That simple sentence holds incredible power. While others were dazzled by what they didn't have, he found freedom in recognizing what was already within his reach. It wasn't a rejection of the world. It was a reminder that true wealth isn't found in what you lack, but in what you know how to value, here and now. That same spirit was later embraced by the Stoics. They understood that life isn't measured by the goals you achieve or the big victories, but by your ability to enjoy the small moments that make up your day. Marcus Aurelius wrote it with the serenity of someone who ruled an empire. Devote each moment only to what's in front of you. That call to immediate action is no different from the invitation to enjoy what you already have. Because the present, even in its simplest details, is always enough for someone who knows how to see it. The problem is, we live as if happiness were some distant destination. We think, when I get that job, I'll be happy. When I find that relationship, I'll feel at peace. When I reach that place, then I'll enjoy. But the truth is, if you can't appreciate what you have today, you won't know how to enjoy anything you gain tomorrow. There will always be another goal, another desire, another missing piece. And in the meantime, those tiny moments that could bring you peace just pass by, unnoticed. And here's where something dangerous happens. When you don't train your eyes to value the small things, you fall into the trap of chasing shiny objects. You run after what glitters, even if you don't really want it. You take jobs that don't fulfill you, just for status. You surround yourself with things you don't need to impress others. And worst of all, you start forcing your life toward a path that isn't yours, just because it shines. Focusing on what matters is your antidote to that illusion, because it reminds you, you already have more than enough reason to feel whole. Think about any ordinary morning. You leave the house in a rush, headphones in, your head full of tasks. You pass by a tree in bloom, but you don't even see it. Someone smiles at you, but your eyes are locked on your phone. And just like that, the extraordinary hides inside the ordinary, and you miss it. Not because it isn't there, but because you're too busy trying to force life to fit your plans. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who craves more." That sentence holds the secret of the small things. When you learn to savor them, you realize you already have more than you thought. A quiet coffee, an honest conversation, a peaceful silence after a long day. None of these need embellishment. If you live them with full attention, they're a treasure. Even in modern times, many have come to understand this after going through loss and hardship. Pianist Ludovico Einaudi shared in an interview that after years of touring and success, the one thing that brought him real calm was sitting at home at his piano, playing a few simple notes, and letting the sound drift through the room. He didn't need applause, just that pure moment. Do you see? The small, if you know how to live it, carries the power of something immense. My friend, maybe you think your life would be different if you reached certain big goals, but listen closely. Life is already happening, right now, in every detail you're ignoring. Greatness isn't just in achievements, it's in the way you choose to see what's in front of you. Someone who learns to be grateful for the little things will never be lacking. So remember this, don't wear yourself out chasing what you think you're missing. Don't trade your peace for false sparkle. Don't force your life down paths you don't want, just to impress others. Stop. Look around. Celebrate the small as if it were great. Appreciate the food on your table, the laugh that comes without warning, the rest that arrives at the end of the day. Because when you learn to see them as gifts, you stop trying to force life to give you more and start recognizing that you're already rich. That's the wisdom the Stoics left us, and it's also the path that allows everything you desire to begin unfolding. Now, I want you to train yourself to value the simple. Write in the comments one small thing from your day that you're going to celebrate as if it were great. I want to read it. Let's keep going. 6. Find peace in uncertainty. In the year 49 BC, Julius Caesar made one of the riskiest decisions in history. He crossed the Rubicon River with his troops. That step launched him into civil war, with no guarantee of victory or even survival. No one knew what would happen next, not even him. And yet what made that moment historic wasn't the certainty of triumph. It was the calm with which he accepted uncertainty. He wasn't paralyzed by fear of the unknown. He chose to move forward with determination, focused only on what was within his control. And this is where I want you to bring that lesson into your own life. Think about that problem weighing you down right now. A change at work, a decision hanging over your head, a situation slipping through your fingers. Isn't it the same thing Caesar faced? He didn't have all the answers, and you won't either. The difference lies in how you choose to respond. Will you let fear freeze you? Or will you face what's coming with the calm of someone who focuses only on what depends on themselves? Think of it this way. Every problem in your life is like Caesar crossing the Rubicon. The message is clear. If the decision is aligned with who you are, move forward with calm. Even if you can't see the end of the road, the Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will face it, if you must, with the same weapons of reason that you use today. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need trust. Trust that your trained mind will be enough when the moment arrives. And I get it. It's not easy. Uncertainty makes us uncomfortable because it shatters the illusion of control. We want life to follow a clear formula. If I do A, I'll get B. But life doesn't work like that. It's more like the ocean. You can prepare the ship, adjust the sails, map the course. But you can't control the wind or stop the storm. Trying to control everything is like trying to chain the waves. We've all felt it. Waiting for an important answer, for news that could change everything, for a future that doesn't yet exist. And the more pressure you create in your mind, the more trapped you feel. What wears you down isn't the uncertainty itself, it's your resistance to accepting it. This is exactly where modern psychology confirms what the Stoics already knew. Studies by psychologist Paul Tillich showed that those who learn to accept uncertainty develop far greater resilience. In other words, the problem isn't that life is uncertain. The problem is not training your mind to live with that uncertainty without fear. When you choose this perspective, something shifts. Uncertainty stops being a monster and becomes your training ground. Every uncertain moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen your character. And the more you train it, the less you need to force life to obey your plans. That's why the key isn't to eliminate uncertainty. It's to walk through it with strength. Don't wait for everything to be clear, because it never will be. Don't look for the perfect map, because it doesn't exist. True peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting your ability to respond with courage when the questions come. Centuries ago, Marcus Aurelius left us a powerful reminder. Remember that man loses only the life he is living now. Don't waste yours on a future that doesn't yet exist. Live it now, even if the future is uncertain. My friend, listen closely. You don't need the path to be safe. You need to be steady on the path. Stop forcing what you can't control. Embrace uncertainty as an inevitable part of life, and walk with dignity. Because the one who learns to move forward through the fog never truly loses their way. 7. Learn not to fear your own company. Have you ever stopped to think about how you deal with solitude? For many, it feels like an uncomfortable void that must be filled as quickly as possible. We'd rather force company, say yes to plans we don't want, talk just to talk, or surround ourselves with noise, anything to avoid being alone with our own thoughts. It's as if we're afraid to hear ourselves, as if we need outside applause and validation just to feel like we exist. But that constant running only creates dependence on others, on entertainment, on anything that can cover up what's really going on inside us. There's a story that the philosopher Michel de Montaigne, after the death of his great friend Etienne de la Boétie, chose to retreat to the tower of his castle, not to escape the world, but to listen to himself. Surrounded by books and silence, he began writing his essays, a dialogue with himself that would go on to shape the history of philosophy. That retreat transformed him. He discovered that solitude wasn't a punishment. It was a soul's laboratory, where he could sort out his thoughts and make sense of his pain. The Stoics didn't see solitude as isolation, but as a space for inner training. Seneca put it beautifully in one of his letters. The wise man is self-sufficient, not because he desires to live without friends, but because he can. He wasn't promoting a life cut off from others. He was describing the kind of inner strength that allows you to be with yourself without discomfort, without needing to fill every silence with distraction. I'll admit it myself. There was a time in my life when I ran from solitude. After a great loss, the last thing I wanted was to be alone with my thoughts. I'd come home and immediately turn on the TV, check my phone, or look for any plan just to avoid the silence. I thought I was coping, but in reality, I was only postponing the moment I'd have to face myself. Until one day, exhausted, I decided to try something different. A few minutes without noise. At first, it was unbearable. The memories hurt, the thoughts were chaotic. But slowly, something shifted. What felt like chaos began to settle. What seemed huge shrank to its true size. I discovered that in that silence were more answers than I'd ever found outside. That is the true power of solitude. It's not a void to be filled. It's a space that reveals. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you no longer have to force your life to be full of things you don't want. You stop accepting invitations just to avoid being alone. You stop chasing shiny distractions that promise instant happiness. You stop begging for relationships that drain you, just because you're afraid of the emptiness. Solitude becomes a filter. What you choose after that is what you truly want, not what you choose to escape yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "People look for retreats in the countryside, by the sea, or in the mountains. But you can retreat into yourself at any moment. That inner retreat is solitude rightly understood, a place of calm you can return to, without needing anyone else. There, you find the order that the outside world never brings." My friend, solitude isn't a punishment, it's training. It's that invisible gym where you strengthen your mind. Like any muscle, it hurts at first and feels pointless. But with practice, what once felt like emptiness becomes fertile ground, where your best decisions are born. The one who learns to be at peace with their solitude doesn't need to force anything in life. They don't need to impress. They don't need endless distractions. They don't beg for company. They find within themselves the strength to move forward with calm and clarity. Remember these words from Epictetus. The free man is the one who is not afraid of being alone. That's the kind of freedom you should seek. Don't run from silence. Don't fill every moment with noise. Stay with yourself, learn to listen, and you'll discover that you're not alone. You're in the presence of the most important voice there is, your own. So imprint this in your mind as a wise command. Learn not to fear your own company, because the one who knows how to be with themselves never gets lost, and the one who masters the art of solitude becomes invincible to the world's noise. 8. Make silence your most powerful weapon. Noise doesn't always come from the outside. Often it's the mind that won't quiet down, thoughts running non-stop, worries on repeat, emotions pushing you to react before it's time. The Stoics knew it. When your mind is ruled by noise, your life turns to chaos. But when you learn to be silent, inside and out, you regain the power to choose how to act. Marcus Aurelius put it clearly, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If noise fills everything, you end up a slave to confusion. But if you can find silence, you find the strength to rule yourself. And this isn't just ancient wisdom from 2,000 years ago. Think of Mahatma Gandhi, arguably one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. He led India's independence movement without weapons, using the strength of non-violence and personal integrity. Where did that energy come from? The kind that could move millions. Gandhi had a disciplined practice. One full day of silence each week. He called it his vow of silence. In the middle of wars, political pressure, and constant threats, he chose to be silent. It wasn't an escape, it was strategy. He knew that without silence, his mind would scatter and his decisions would lose clarity. He said, "In the silence of the heart, the voice of God speaks." That practice made him stronger. While other leaders wore themselves out in endless arguments, Gandhi returned from silence with an unshakable clarity. Those were the days when his character was forged, when the world's anxiety melted away, and when he found the strength to stay true to his vision. His greatness wasn't just in what he said or did, but in what he chose not to say. That's the Stoic message too. External silence is valuable, but inner silence is even more powerful. When you're able to pause for just a second before reacting, everything changes. What felt like a fire inside you begins to calm. What seemed like an impossible problem gains perspective. Silence becomes the filter that separates blind reaction from wise response. And if you need more proof, today's science backs what the Stoics already knew. Daniel Goleman, father of emotional intelligence, showed in his research that taking just a few seconds of silence before reacting helps the brain calm down and prevents us from acting out of anger or fear. In simple words, silence isn't weakness. It's giving yourself time to choose better. Epictetus said it centuries ago. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things. When you react impulsively, the noise inside you grows. But when you pause, like a Stoic, you regain control. Tell me, how many times have you wished you could take back something you said in the heat of the moment? One short pause of silence could have changed everything. That brief moment of calm is what gives you power over yourself. Because you can't control what others do or say, but you can choose not to be swept away by the noise. Silence is a tough teacher because at first, it's uncomfortable. It confronts you with your anxiety, your thoughts, the things you'd rather avoid. But if you stay with it, it stops being uncomfortable and becomes clarity. It's like the muddy water of a river. If the current stops, the sediments settle, and the water clears. And that clarity is what frees you from the urge to force life. When you're silent, you stop chasing immediate answers, pointless arguments, and impulsive decisions. You realize not everything needs your reaction. That many things resolve on their own, if you simply learn to stay calm. So listen carefully. Make silence your weapon, not as a hiding place, but as the space where your strength recharges. When someone provokes you, stay silent and observe. When the world rushes, stay silent and set your own pace. When your mind screams, stay silent and sort it out. My friend, silence is not emptiness, it's power. It's proof that you don't need to force anything to take control. Because the one who knows how to stay quiet in the middle of noise is the one who truly owns the moment. And now I want you to commit. Write in the comments, "Today, I begin to keep silent," and share one situation from your life where silence would have given you more clarity or more strength than speaking. That will be your first step in turning noise into power. 9. Make your desires work for you. There's something curious about desire. When you don't master it, it turns into a capricious master that drags you in every direction. But when you put it in its proper place, it becomes a loyal servant, one that pushes you toward your best self. The Stoics knew this well. It's not about eliminating desire, but learning how to shape it, how to turn it into strength instead of chains. Epictetus put it bluntly, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them." He wasn't talking about repressing everything you long for, but about purifying those desires until you're left only with the ones that truly build you. Because to crave what's out of your control is slavery, but to desire what's within your reach to cultivate, that is freedom. Think of wild horses. If you let them run loose, they can destroy everything. But if you guide them with firm reins, that same power can carry you far. Desires are like that. Raw energy that, if you don't rule, will end up ruling you. A powerful example of this is Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and survivor of the concentration camps. In the midst of unimaginable suffering, where most were crushed by despair, Frankl discovered one desire that no one could take from him: the desire to give meaning to his life. While others were swallowed by hopelessness, he chose to direct his desire toward keeping his dignity and helping fellow prisoners. He later summed it up in a phrase that circled the globe: "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Ah, how powerful. Frankl didn't erase his desires, he transformed them. He turned them into a driving force that allowed him to endure the unendurable. Be honest. How many times have you found yourself trapped in desires that aren't even yours? The latest car, clothes meant to impress, the approval of someone you don't even respect, imposed desires that drain your time and energy chasing things that shine on the outside but are hollow within. That's the trap, forcing your life to fulfill whims that will never bring you peace. The Stoics invite us to choose our desires wisely, because if what you want is out of your hands, you'll suffer. But if what you desire is within your control, being honest, acting wisely, building your character, then you'll always be able to achieve it. It's the same with everyday things. You can wish for your boss to change, for your friends to act differently, for luck to be on your side. But those are wild horses. They're not in your hands, and the more you chase them, the more frustration you build up. On the other hand, if you focus your desire on giving your best at work, on being a loyal friend, on strengthening your discipline, those are desires that obey you. You don't need to force life to get them because they come from your will. Well-directed desire is like fire in a hearth. If you let it run wild, it burns down the forest. But if you contain it and use it with purpose, it gives warmth, light, and life. That's your task, to decide whether your desires will burn you or illuminate your path. And no, I'm not asking you to give up wanting things. That would be absurd. I'm asking you to choose what you want carefully. Seneca said it clearly: "It is not the man who has little who is poor, but the one who craves more." The more you desire what's unnecessary, the poorer you feel. But when you choose to desire only what is under your control, you're always rich. Next time you feel a strong desire, ask yourself one simple question: does this bring me closer to the life I want to build? Or does it tie me to something that's out of my hands? That one question could be the difference between getting lost in whims or strengthening your character. Remember, desire isn't the enemy. The enemy is a lack of direction. You decide whether you work for your desires or your desires work for you. So engrave this as a wise command. Don't chase what enslaves you. Take the reins of your desires and turn them into your power. Because the one who masters what they long for never has to force anything in life, and ends up attracting what truly matters. 10. Gratitude opens all doors. We live in a kind of endless race. You reach a goal and almost without celebrating it, your mind is already chasing the next one. That feeling of never enough becomes a constant weight, and I get it. It seems normal in a world that constantly pushes us to want more. But tell me, how can you enjoy the journey if you never feel like what you have right now is worth appreciating? That's where gratitude becomes a necessary pause. It reminds you that you already have reasons to value the present before launching yourself once again toward what's next. For the Stoics, gratitude wasn't just a polite gesture, it was a way of living. They understood that what you don't appreciate becomes a burden, while what you value with gratitude turns into strength. They didn't try to force life to give them what they didn't yet have. They preferred to stop and recognize what was already in front of them, even in the middle of difficulty. That shift in perspective is what truly opens doors, because when your mind rests in gratitude, it frees itself from the anxiety of needing more and gains the clarity to focus on what really matters. Think of gratitude like a pair of glasses. If they're dirty, Everything looks dull and unpleasant. But when you clean them, what's always been there becomes clear. That's exactly how it works in life. Without gratitude, all you see is what's missing. With gratitude, you discover abundance, even in the smallest things. And from that feeling of abundance, my friend, it's so much easier to build the life you want. Because now you're no longer starting from a place of lack. You're starting from the certainty that you already have what you need to begin. Positive psychology has been studying this for decades. Professor Robert Emmons wrote, "When we give thanks, we stop obsessing over what we lack and start recognizing the fullness of what we already have." His research showed that people who practice gratitude are not only happier, they're also more resilient in the face of challenges. And here's how that connects to your life. A grateful person doesn't get stuck in what they're missing. They grow stronger through what they already have. That gives them more energy and direction to keep moving toward what they truly want. Think of a rough day. You're late for work, you argue with someone, your task list feels endless. That kind of day could crush you. But if, in the middle of it all, you choose to be grateful for just one small thing, a quick conversation that lifted your mood, a hot cup of coffee you enjoyed, even the simple fact of having a place to come home to, your perspective changes. The problem doesn't go away, but you no longer carry it with the same heaviness. Gratitude is that shift that turns a wall into a stepping stone. Epictetus said it perfectly. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. That's what gratitude does. It clears away the obsession with what's missing and helps you value what you already have. And when you move from that space, there's no need to force anything. You build with calm and with clarity, and that gets you much closer to the life you want. Gratitude also impacts more than just you. It transforms your relationships. We often take the little gestures from those around us for granted. A favor, a cup of coffee, a few kind words. But when you choose to thank someone, the dynamic shifts. Psychology backs this up. Expressing gratitude strengthens relationships and reduces conflict. And believe me, no one gets where they want to go alone. We all need others along the way. Gratitude opens those doors. It makes people want to walk with you, not against you. And don't forget something essential. Gratitude isn't only for the easy moments. Its real power appears when you can give thanks, even in the middle of difficulty. It might sound strange, but being thankful for an obstacle changes your relationship with it. It stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. Just like a sculptor shapes a block of stone into art, blow by blow, you can shape your own character through challenges if you choose to be grateful for what they teach you. Try it. Take a few seconds at the end of the day and recognize one thing you're grateful for, even something small. That habit will start changing the way you sleep, and slowly, the way you live. Saying it out loud makes it even more powerful. Telling someone you appreciate what they did, even if it's something simple, strengthens your bond and reinforces your mindset of abundance. And most importantly, living with gratitude gives you peace right now, even as you build the future you want. Gratitude opens all doors because it frees you from the obsession of forcing results. It reminds you that you already have reasons to be at peace today, and from that calm, it's much easier to reach everything you're dreaming of tomorrow. So put it into practice right now. Write in the comments just one thing you're grateful for today. That will be your first step in training your mind in abundance. And from today, starting to bring closer everything you want to achieve in your life. 11. Your will is the rudder of your destiny. There are days when life feels like a stormy sea. Everything moves, nothing is certain, and the temptation is to fight every wave, as if it were up to you to change the course of the ocean. That fight, sooner or later, wears you down. The Stoics understood this well. It's not about trying to control the sea, but learning how to steer the rudder. That's the difference between a life of force and frustration, and a life that moves forward with direction, one step at a time. Marcus Aurelius wrote it with a clarity that still feels current. If something external causes you pain, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. The world will bring storms, but it's you who decides how to hold the rudder. And that decision, repeated again and again, is what brings you closer to what you want, without needing to force the impossible. Because it's not the sea that sets your course. It's the strength with which you hold your direction. History gives us powerful examples of this truth. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He could have broken down, fed the anger, and let his will collapse. But he chose something else. Instead of drowning in despair, he turned those years into training, reading, reflecting, strengthening his character. When he walked out of prison, he didn't do it with hatred, but with a will so clear that nothing could stop him. Those years weren't a pause in his life. They were the workshop where the character was forged that would later transform a nation. And even if your life doesn't play out in a prison cell or in politics, the lesson is the same. You face problems at work, relationships that don't always work out, projects that don't seem to move forward. And the temptation is to force things, to push, obsess, and exhaust yourself. But if your will is steady, you don't need to pressure the world into fitting your expectations. You act calmly, take consistent steps, and let time open the right doors. It's not magic, it's direction. Picture a ship in the middle of the ocean. The captain can't change the strength of the wind or the size of the waves, but he can adjust the sails and hold the course. That's what your will does. It doesn't erase the problems, but it keeps your direction steady. Anxiety tells you to fight the sea. Stoic wisdom reminds you, all you need to do is steer the rudder. My friend, what happens when you hand over your will to fear, to the opinions of others, or to the whims of luck? It's like letting go of the rudder. The ship is left adrift, dragged by any current. But when you decide to stay firm in what depends on you, even the roughest storms eventually push you forward. Life is not about chasing everything that shines. It's about staying true to what truly matters. And here's the key. Disciplined willpower not only calms anxiety, it also turns your desires into fuel. When you know what you're aiming for and hold that direction with consistency, there's no need to force anything. Opportunities begin to align naturally. What once seemed far away begins to move closer. Not because the sea becomes calm, but because you've learned how to sail it with steadiness. Think about your goals. Maybe you want a new job, a healthier life, a stable relationship. Impatience will tell you to push, to skip steps. But Stoic willpower reminds you that every action counts. If today you stick to your routine, if today you keep your discipline, if today you don't let anxiety take the wheel, little by little, what once seemed impossible becomes reachable. Strength isn't in speeding up, it's in staying the course. Seneca said it in a way that has stood the test of time. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence on the future. What does that mean in your life? That firm will doesn't get desperate to arrive. It enjoys the journey, and from that calm, results come, without you needing to exhaust yourself in a pointless struggle. Willpower is like a lamp in the night. If you neglect it, the wind blows it out. But if you protect it and keep it burning, it lights even the darkest path. That's what happens with you. When your will is cared for, it lights the way to what you want. And there's no need to rush, because each steady step becomes real progress. So engrave this in your mind as a wise command. Don't try to control the sea. Control the rudder. Hold your will with strength. Focus your energy on what depends on you, and let the rest flow. The one who steers their course doesn't need to force anything. They keep moving, and life eventually delivers what they're seeking. And if you feel like your will is starting to weaken, like it abandons you when you need it most, click the video on screen. There, you'll discover how to build a mind so strong that nothing can hurt you again. 12. Consistency is the key that unlocks the impossible. How many times have you started something with excitement only to quit halfway when results didn't come quickly? That habit that didn't last more than a week, that project that felt too big, that goal you abandoned because progress was too slow. Most of the time, we don't fail because the goal is unreachable. We fail because we stop walking while there are still steps to take. Impatience makes us force things, and enforcing what we desire slips away. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca said it clearly. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. The problem isn't that dreams are impossible. It's that we give up too soon. Consistency turns the unreachable into something familiar. It's not about forcing life into submission, but about holding a steady direction, day after day. That's how the impossible becomes real. Look at the example of Thomas Edison. He tried more than 1,000 times to invent the light bulb before he succeeded. Most would have given up long before, chasing other paths without conviction. But Edison understood that every attempt was part of the process. He said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that don't work." That's the essence of consistency, not fighting life in frustration, but accepting the rhythm and walking with it. The light bulb didn't light up by magic or luck. It lit up because discipline carried him through the wait. The same is true for you. Consistency is what turns vague wishes into reality. If you chase something with anxiety, you force it, you burn out, and all you end up with is exhaustion. But if you pursue it with consistency, one step each day without obsession, you let time work in your favor. You can't stretch a stem to make it grow faster, but you can water the seed. Impatience rips up the root. Consistency turns it into a tree. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Let each act of your life be as if it were your last." He didn't mean to rush you. He meant to remind you that every action matters. Every time you stick to your routine, even in the smallest thing, you're shaping your future. And when you repeat it with discipline and without anxiety, what once felt unreachable starts to draw near. Consistency doesn't shout. It doesn't impress. But it opens doors that impatience never can. That's how the Stoics built their strength. They didn't seek instant results. Epictetus taught his students that nothing great is created suddenly. They knew that character is built through habits, that inner peace is trained through repetition, that freedom is earned by practicing discipline every single day. They didn't force the world to give them what they wanted. They worked on themselves with consistency, and then life gave them the strength and serenity they had earned. Modern psychology says the same. It's not intensity that transforms you, it's regularity. Small actions repeated over time rewire your brain and body until they become part of who you are. And what's even more powerful is this: consistency actually reduces anxiety. You stop obsessing over when the result will come because your focus shifts to what you're doing today. What you desire stops being an obsession and becomes a natural outcome of your actions. Think about your own goals. Maybe you want a career change to improve your health, to learn something new, or to build a strong relationship. If you obsess over it, you force it and end up frustrated. But if you choose consistency, take steady steps, and let time do its work, everything starts to align. Not because you pressured the world into handing it over, but because you became the kind of person who attracts it through discipline. Consistency is like the drop that falls on the rock. One drop does nothing, but thousands sculpt the stone. Your daily actions are those drops. At first they seem small, but over time, they reshape your entire life. That's the Stoic secret. What you want in life isn't conquered by force, but by the quiet, repeated practice of what truly matters, until the result appears on its own. Seneca put it beautifully. As long as we live, let us learn to live. Every day is a chance to train consistency, to take one more step quietly without anxiety. And when you do, what once felt impossible stops being a distant dream and becomes part of your reality. So keep going. Don't chase everything in desperation. Don't force what hasn't arrived yet. Take one step today and repeat it tomorrow. Life will eventually give you what you're seeking, not because you pushed it with anxiety, but because you learned to stay your course with calm and discipline, just as the Stoics did. My friend, getting what you want in life doesn't depend on luck, nor on forcing every situation until you break. It's about training your mind to release what's out of your control and focus your energy on what is within your hands. What you're seeking won't arrive through anxiety. It will come when you combine discipline, calm, and trust in the process. If you've made it this far, I want you to claim it. Let the world know. Write in the comments, "Today I stop forcing and start attracting what I want." That tells me you're part of this community that doesn't give up. Subscribe and turn on the bell so we can walk this path of wisdom together. You've got more videos on screen waiting for you, because every step counts. Click now, and let's keep learning together.